Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, we'll be continuing our journey into Act 9, covering all of the easiest paths. If multiple paths are an option in a quest, I will cover them all. Remember that this is just what I found easier, and your roster and experiences may vary. So let's dive in. Act 9, Chapter 2, Quest number 6, Excommunication. Always remember that you can't beat the boss if you've thrown your phone across the room. The path we'll be taking today is out to the right through Symbiote Supreme. Here we'll find Wilted Ward 2, 1-2 Punch, Power Snack 4, Down and Out 1, and Powerful 1. Powerful just makes the opponent immune to special lock, as well as Power Steal, Drain, Burn, or Lock effects. So let's have a look at some more interesting nodes. Wilted Ward is similar to some of the other nodes we've seen introduced in this chapter. The defender will gain a 20% protection passive every 14 seconds up to 5, and you can remove all of them by hitting the defender with a striker as long as they have a Petrify, Wither, or Suppression effect on them. No debuff or passive means the striker won't remove anything. Whilst they have no protections though, you gain plus 50% damage. These are quite specific debuffs, but luckily we have 1-2 Punch. This node will place a passive Petrify on the opponent whenever you knock them down with a heavy or a special, as long as they have a Power Sting, Slow, or Weakness effect on them. So we have our choice of 6 effects to be able to directly or indirectly remove these protections. Just don't forget your relics. The problem with using the latter 3 debuffs comes from Down and Out 1. If you knock down the defender with a heavy attack, you have 10 seconds to use a special attack, or you will lose 50% of your maximum health to direct damage. Last up, we have Power Snack. Whenever you trigger a buff, it is instantly removed, and the defender gains a full bar of power. This has a 7-second cooldown though. Be extremely careful when the opponent has over 1 bar of power, as one dex could push them very close to Special 3. Withers or Petrifies are recommended here, and it's very convenient that the entire path is centered around those effects. Though we haven't quite got there yet, the boss for this quest is Mystic, and having a path entirely centered around science champions and debuffs really lines up with what you need there. What I did for this quest was to see who I needed for the boss, grabbed 5 of them, and then made sure they covered all of the problems for the path, see who has access to the required debuffs, and use them. Titania, She-Hulk, Deathless She-Hulk, Void, Ham, Awakened Silk, Anti-Venom, and so on, all great champions. They can all work for the boss. Make sure you focus on the boss first, then come back to the path. I'll explain more in the team section. And if this video is helping you at all, please place a lot of debuffs on that like button. Right, Loten time. Like a lot of these bosses, there are many words to go through, but this fight really boils down to how do I get my smite charge and get rid of her charges. More on that in a bit. Loten is immune to all Power Lock, Burn, Drain, Steal effects, as well as Armor Break and Armor Shatter effects, and against non-science champions, the ability accuracy of incoming damaging effects is reduced by 90%. This is why we'll be using a lot of science champions for this fight. Again, more reasons coming up. As the fight progresses through its 5 phases, various effects are banished. This means you cannot trigger them, and each time you try to, Loten instantly gains 12% of their missing power. In this fight, you may also notice this huge storm thing in the background. This is the Maelstrom, and it isn't just there for looks. This is designed to make your foe overheat and lag out, so Loten can just combo you into oblivion. To quickly clarify, I know that Kabam have actually put a lot of work into making the Maelstrom not do this, but if you are playing on a potato, you may notice some issues. What the Maelstrom actually does is occupy the centre of the stage, and it changes sizes in each phase. It starts out quite large in phase 1 and gets progressively smaller in phases 2, 3 and 4, before in phase 5 it covers the entire stage. Whilst inside the Maelstrom, Loten's basic attacks now deal energy damage, and their combat power rate is also increased by 50%. When you enter the Maelstrom, a degen timer starts on you for 5 seconds. This is harmless and also paused for 5 seconds whenever Loten starts a basic attack, and is paused indefinitely whenever Loten is blocking, charging a heavy, or during their special attacks. Once the timer expires, however, you will be inflicted with a pretty chunky degen passive, as well as an additional one every second, and these stack indefinitely. If you let them stack up, you will die very, very quickly. However, as soon as you leave the Maelstrom, the timer and all degens on you are removed, and you also gain plus 25% spirit rate. This fight follows a fairly similar pattern to many of the other big bosses we have seen. Loten gains charges, you do certain things to remove the charges, Loten takes massively reduced damage whilst they have charges, and massively increased damage when they don't. Get the health bar to 0, it goes back to full, and you move on to the next stage. For Loten, the charges here are called desecrated charges, and she can have a maximum of 20, though this is reduced in later stages. At the start of each phase, Loten gains the maximum charges she can for that phase, and generates an additional one every 5 seconds, up to the maximum, though this timer is paused while either champion is throwing a special attack, for 1 second when Loten is struck, and for 3 seconds on a combo ender, or when Loten is knocked down. Once all the charges are removed, Loten is sanctified for 10 seconds, though this is paused during special attacks and strikers. During this mode, Loten can't do anything at all, including gaining power. The Maelstrom does not affect you, and Loten takes 150% more damage from all sources. If Loten takes more than 33% of their max health while sanctified, which is about 340,000 damage, the timer starts expiring 400% faster and cannot be paused. When Sanctifies expires, Loten's power is reset to 0, all effects on them are removed, and they become desecrated once again. 33% of the maximum health per Sanctify is phased, meaning you're going to have to go through each phase cycle at least 3 times. Loten starts the quest with 1 Corrupted Seal. This is basically her phase counter. Corrupted Seals persist between fights, and place different limitations on the fight, changing with each Corrupted Seal for each new phase. For each active Corrupted Seal, Loten's power steals gain 10% flat potency, which we'll see in a bit, as well as reducing the maximum desecration charges they can have by 2. Right, let's have a look at these phases then. This is the bit you watch multiple times, and you rewatch during the fight to remind yourself what to do. Phase 1. In this phase, you gain a smite charge whilst Loten's back is against the wall. Whilst you have this smite charge, you can remove 4 desecrated charges with your second medium attack or any hit of your special one. If Loten is suffering from slow or trauma, then you will remove 1 extra charge with each of these actions. These debuffs are a nice bonus, but not something I found myself focusing on. There are different bonus debuffs in every phase, but there is no champion in the game that has access to all of them. In this phase, immortality, death immunity, and undying effects are banished. Remember, trying to activate any of these, or again in subsequent phases, will give Loten 12% of a bar of power. In phase 2, you now gain your smite charge when your back is against the wall, and you can remove Loten's charges with your first light attack, your fourth light attack, and your striker. The light attacks remove 2 charges each, whereas the striker is 4. The bonus debuffs for this phase are suppression and weakness, and they let you remove 2 additional charges for each action. For the rest of the fight, Loten will now go unstoppable on their heavy attack, and true damage, strike, accuracy, sense, and focus are now banished. On to phase 3, and you now gain smite charges whenever you are somewhere between the wall and the maelstrom on either side. Personally, I found it easier to be on the left side, as we now remove 2 charges by parrying Loten, and 6 if we use a special 2. Loten is now stun immune in all subsequent phases, so you can land those reparries back to back to drop multiple sets of charges very quickly. This is why I prefer being on the left hand side, as you can't be pushed back into the maelstrom. The bonus debuffs are now Taunted and Exhaustion, allowing for 2 additional charges to be removed. Unblockable, Unstoppable, and Indestructible effects are now banished. Phase 4, and now we gain Smite whenever either champion is in the Maelstrom itself. I found it easier to now be on the right hand side, so I can just duck back into the Maelstrom if needed, and then get out again very quickly, but also because now we can dex Loten specials whilst in the Maelstrom. This is because in this phase, we now remove 2 charges on a dex and 6 on a heavy, with 2 extra ones if Loten is suffering from Petrify or physical vulnerability. Regen, Power Gain, and Energize are now banished, and her special 1 is now unblockable. Phase 5, last one. The Maelstrom now fills the entire screen, but you can reset the degen timer each time you strike Loten. This will also give them a small amount of power, but this is a good thing, as we want to see a lot of that special 1 in this phase. During either of Loten's specials, though stick to the special 1, whenever you dodge the second to last hit, you will gain your smite charge, as well as an untouchable charge until the end of the special attack. In order to remove 3 charges, or 6 on Loten's special 2, but stick with the special 1, you need to dash in and phase the last hit of the special attack. This sounds much nastier than it is, but just make sure you don't dash in too early or it won't count. Loten's special 2 is now unblockable, and Furies, Armor Ups, Precisions, and Cruelties are now banished. And yes, this does include Dexterity. These specials have been doing a lot so far, so let's see what they actually do. Loten's special 1 will give them 2 charges on the last hit if it hits you, or if it hits your block and you didn't parry it. On any hit or block, it will also steal 10% of a bar of power, though this is increased by a flat 10% per subsequent phase. The special 2 will do the same thing as the special 1 on the last hit, but now grant Loten 4 charges. The last hit of this special will also inflict a 100% overload passive. If this hit crits, it's basically game over, because the burst that comes from this and the hit itself can easily total over 100,000 damage. If you get through this fight without ever seeing a special 2, you haven't done anything wrong, and you've probably saved yourself quite a headache. And the special 3 does what it normally does for these bosses. You go in the bin. Interestingly though, this special attack is disabled when Loten is not inside the Maelstrom, so don't instantly panic if you push them red. You might be able to sanctify Loten, and after that, assuming you don't push phase, remember that Loten will lose all of their power. So, the plan for this fight. Loten gains charges, you do the right things to remove those charges once you gain your smite. Loten takes increased damage in her sanctified phase and can't do anything. Repeat 3 times to push phase, assuming you have enough damage to cap them each time. Health bar goes back to full, and you go round again with a new way of gaining smite and a new way of removing her charges. So, for our team, choose your 5 best boss options, then double check that it's enough to take the path. For me, this was Count Nefaria, Deathless She-Hulk, Silk, Titania, and Hulk, but I needed someone incinerating me for the Mephisto on the path, as whilst in my testing Deathless She-Hulk could take this fight, it was far safer for me to swap out Hulk for Void. Fairly soon after this video goes out, I will get up a commentator video of me going through this path and boss with the exact team I just suggested. It'll be much more relaxed, but should hopefully give you some more insight into how I look at getting around these issues. I will also answer any popular questions from the comments of this video and that video, so please leave yours down below. As always, remember that this is just story content, so it won't be going anywhere anytime soon. If you get stuck here and find yourself spending lots of resources, stop and focus on something else. The monthly event quest and side quests are great places to pick up more materials, shards, and units, as are battlegrounds and the arena. So, that's it. Everything you need to know to clear all of 9.2.6. If you have any questions, please do leave them down in the comments section below, and I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. Consider also joining the Discord server linked in the description. A great place to get specific advice, make suggestions for future video topics, and while I'm awake, I do my best to be there as much as possible. Thank you, and I will see you next time.